This is the IBJ podcast for the week of August 15th, 2022, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Let me quickly take you back to the early 1970s. Gwendolyn Rogers was 6 years old, and her father took her to Walt Disney World in its first year of operation. The Magic Kingdom, an idealized world of enchantment and family entertainment, made a massive impression. It's not a stretch to say Rogers borrowed some of that pixie dust when, in 2014, she opened the Cake Bake Shop in Broad Ripple, also with the help of a $325,000 small business loan. She transformed a freestanding home on the north side of Broad Ripple Village into a kind of confectioner's paradise, populated with sparkling accents and a cozy but high-end aesthetic. It had regular table service, topped off with towering and indulgent cakes, including the deluxe chocolate cake she used to win the London Cake and Bake Show in 2013. It's no small achievement that Rogers correctly predicted that Hoosiers would pay a pretty penny for high-end baked goods in an environment right out of Cinderella. In 2019, she opened a second cake bake shop in Carmel with the help of a $1.2 million loan. And in April of this year, she announced that a longtime dream of hers had come true. The Walt Disney World Resort announced that a cake bake shop would open next year at Disney's BoardWalk. Rogers isn't at liberty yet to talk about the fine details, but there's a lot more to the cake bake story than the new location. Rogers has put a lot on the line over the last 8 years to establish and grow the brand, including a hefty financial commitment. She was saved during the pandemic by a relationship with Williams-Sonoma that made her cakes available on the high-end retailer's website. In 8 years, she has gone from a single employee to nearly 190. But as we discuss in this week's edition of the podcast, she dreamed of opening in Disney World even before launching the Broad Ripple location. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Gwendolyn Rogers, owner of the Cake Bake Shop. Gwendolyn, thank you for making time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mason. It's nice to be here.
We were talking just before we started about where you are. So you popped up on my screen. It's a Zoom interview, and I saw a big warehouse in back of you, and I thought, well, that's just kind of a funny backdrop. You literally are in a warehouse right now.
I literally am. Isn't it like romantic and beautiful? It's what everybody dream of.
That's right. I was thinking, it's Gwendolyn, I'll be talking to her in the kitchen, and there'll be, implements and sugar everywhere. And this is like the guts of a warehouse.
It is. I mean, and this is my favorite place to be. I love my warehouse. There's a lot of activity here. I've got a great team that's here, and we've got a creative department that works out of here. And we have an office space as well that has about 15 people that work there, but the phones are ringing all the time, and it's kind of chaotic and it's super busy. So this is a nice kind of quiet place to be. And, we have dock doors that you can feel like you're outside. So when the weather's nice, it's a good spot to be. I always know when the Amazon guy's coming. So it's kind of cool.
And I mean, I'm just guessing here. This is like a 28-foot warehouse, ceiling warehouse. I mean, there are boxes to the top. What kinds of stuff is in back there?
Well, I have a lot of racking, that's for sure. I have cake by the slice boxes. I have cookie bags. I have muffin bags. I have large cake boxes, large cake bags. We have lots of ribbon. We have balloons. We have all of my holiday decor is here as well. So when I switch the seasons over, this is where I build everything. So about 3 months before we do the install, I'll be in the warehouse building garlands and wreaths and flower arrangements and things like that. So this is where everything's stored. So when we take it down, we bring it in here, then we've got a team that organizes it and kind of puts it all back where it's supposed to go. And then we pull it back out when the season's right. It's a lot of rotation.
I'm reminded of the story of when you first opened the Cake Bake Shop. Tell me if this is right. I mean, you spoke about Christmas decorations. You were like raiding your closets for Christmas decorations to put in the first incarnation of the Cake Bake Shop. This is 8 years ago. I mean, you were just scraping around for anything.
Oh, that's an understatement of rating. I mean, I felt for my kids that year because I just took all of our own Christmas things and I put them in the Broad Ripple shop. So we didn't really have Christmas at home. So our Christmas tree was in Broad Ripple. All of their teddy bears, I took all the teddy bears that they've been collecting, and I put them in the shop. And I don't know, it was just I felt like it needed some sort of festive feeling. And when you Christmas is so great anyway. It's one of my favorite holidays, but there's something very warm and tingly and magical about the holidays, and it's the twinkle lights, it's the smell of the Christmas tree, it's all those things that make you feel, it's almost like a feeling that you wish you could have with you 365 days a year, where it makes you feel warm and welcome and cozy, and you feel like your family's around you. And to me, that's if you can create that feeling in a space where you have the public coming into, and if you can create that feeling with even just one guest that comes through your door, I was like, God, this is the best job ever. And from that, I got, once I took all of my own personal things and put it in there, and I had the pillows off of my couch that we would put on the banquettes, and all of my pots and pans came out of my own kitchen, and I didn't have any money when I started. I had like $1. I didn't have any money to start this business, so I just kind of did what I needed to do to make it as cozy and homey as possible. And it just turned into something spectacular. And then, I don't know, it just kind of evolved. So over time, it now is what it is. And it's just fantastic. I love my job.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of amazing that this is just 8 years later. If you'd said to yourself, well, 8 years from now, this is what we're going to have. And it includes a huge warehouse stacked to the brim with stuff that you need.
That's true. Well, and my warehouse story I love the most because, obviously when I first started, everything was in my own house and it was in my garage. And then I got one storage unit at Nora behind Target. And then I outgrew that storage unit, so I had to get another one. And it ended up, I had 12 storage units throughout the infinite storage place behind Target, that they were all over the place. So it wasn't like they were all next to each other. One was like in building F, one was in building G. And I had to make a map and go, okay, well, all my hot and cold cups and lids are in this storage unit. And then I had, cake platters and glass domes and another one. And then winter would come and the doors would freeze shut and I would have to kick the doors open to get them. And I had shovels in the back of my Suburban so that I could get into my storage units. So the fact I have a warehouse now it's like a palace. Literally, I love it. This is my favorite place. It's very great, my warehouse.
I did want to talk about the latest news first, although I know that there are a lot of details that you can't discuss yet. But you announced in April that a Cake Bake Shop location will open on the BoardWalk at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. What, at this point, can we say about what you will offer at that location? What will it be like when I walk in? Just like Broad Ripple or something else?
Well, I kind of would like to leave a little bit of that as a surprise, but I mean, it will be very similar. I'm not reinventing the wheel by any means when it comes to my brand and what we offer. We are going to do, we do this now, but we're going to have an afternoon tea service there, which I think will be a great offering for the Disney guests. But our menu, it'll be, I am going to have my cakes because I can't go anywhere without my cakes and my pies and my cookies and all that. So I think the most fun part for me is designing the space and recreating something that is very familiar, but yet will be something new and different to a lot of people who don't know who we are.
This might be heresy, but I have not been to Walt Disney World. What is the BoardWalk? How does Cake Bake Shop fit into the aesthetic of the BoardWalk?
Well, how exciting for you, because now you have a reason to go because, Walt Disney World alone is fantastic. There's so much entertainment and so many fun things to do and great places to eat. And it's just constant fun. And you turn a corner and there's music playing, and you turn another corner and there's fireworks going off, and you turn another corner and there's someone, there's a performer, doing something amazing. The BoardWalk it kind of goes back in time, and it creates that old fashioned feeling of what it would be like to be on a boardwalk back in the day. And I think Cake Bake fits into that atmosphere so perfectly and so beautifully. And it's so meant to be because my design and my aesthetic and everything that I'm all about, from the outdoor lights to the colors to the windows to everything, is going to be such a beautiful blend with the BoardWalk and such a compliment that I could not have dreamt up a better spot.
How far back does your connection to Disney go?
Well, when I was 6, because I'm going to be 57, so 50 years ago, my father took me to Walt Disney World when I was 6 years old, and it was the first year that they'd opened. So last year when I turned 56, I was fortunate enough to go to the 50th anniversary event that they had at Walt Disney World. So my connection goes from the day they opened. So, I'm lucky to be old enough that I went the first year they opened with my father, and it, so I think my connection's pretty deep, pretty great. Like, I've had it with me since I was a little kid, and I love it. And I will always love it. I will always be a Disney fan because of the feeling that I get when I'm there, when I'm with my family. It's wonderful.
You told IBJ a few months ago that opening a shop at Walt Disney World was actually a goal of yours before you opened the cake bake shop in Broderville. So how did that happen?
That's true. I don't know. I can't explain that. It's something that I don't know if it's intuition or it's crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I used to have people go, "You're nuts," because there's no way. How are you ever going to open in Walt Disney? I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to make it happen. It was a goal that I had. And it was something that I always wanted to do. And the fact that it's actually coming true is really a dream. It makes me feel like that's my purpose. I mean, I first thought my purpose was to have these 3 beautiful sons that I have. And it's like, well, that was it. That really is my main purpose. But then after that, as a middle-aged woman, maybe my purpose was really to open in Walt Disney so that I could bring this experience to millions of people, because it makes, even if I make one little person happy, then that's all. Then my job is complete.
How did the connection to Disney happen? Did you contact them? Did they contact you?
Well, it is such a strange story, to be honest, because my life had a very distinct path. And at least you think you do, you're like, okay, this is how my life's going to be, and this is where I'm going to go, and this is what I'm going to do with it. And it didn't work out that way. And I got thrown a huge curveball. And at the time I thought, well, this is, I would never say it's not fair, because life is never fair, but you just got to kind of readjust and figure out what are you going to do now? Right. So with that, I am so grateful that all those things happened in my life. And I can go into details if you like, but I was going to live in Sun Valley, Idaho for the rest of my life. And my husband and I, built a house there. And so it's great because I look back now and I learned how to build something. And if I never had that experience, I would never have been able to build Broderville, and I couldn't have built Carmel, and I couldn't have built this Disney project. And so knowing all the things that I learned along the way that at the time maybe I didn't really realize were so important, have really benefited me just in knowledge. And if I didn't know how to do something, I would teach myself how to do it, and I would figure it out. Like I didn't go to pastry school. I never was professionally trained. If I wanted to learn how to make something, I would just teach myself how to do it, and I would do it until I got it right. So the Disney connection really occurred because I built that house, and then we couldn't afford to live in it anymore, and we were going to lose our house. So I had to move out of it so that I could rent it so that we could pay the mortgage. Well, to do that, I had to live with my mother-in-law, who I adore. But that was a very difficult time in my life because I had 3 little children. I had 2 dogs and a cat. And I lived with my mother-in-law for months. And we moved here to Indianapolis so that we could rent our house out. And that was my job. My job was to make sure we didn't lose our house. So I was constantly putting it on rental companies and, VRBO and, Inspirato and all these companies that rented homes. And this one woman leased it for the summer. And that woman, we became friends over the last, years after that. But she ended up building a home in Florida. And she loved the house that I built so much. So she said, where'd you get your lights? Where'd you get your sink? Where'd you buy all your, where'd the floors come from? And we became friends after that. And she ended up building a home in Walt Disney World. And she was very good friends with one of the ex-vice presidents of Walt Disney Company. And so I sent her a cake, and I'd already been, starting up my cake bake, and I was working out of my house for 8 years. And, I built up at least a little bit of a base where I knew people liked what I was doing, and I didn't want to borrow money if it wasn't going to work. And, there's a lot of, how much failure are you willing to take on kind of thing. But I ended up sending her a cake, and he really enjoyed it. So I told him, what my goals were and how I really, at some point, one day would want to be in Walt Disney World with a restaurant. And he set me up with a meeting, and that was 8 years ago. I have been working on this Disney project for 8 years. So I know it seems like it's an overnight thing, but it was not overnight. And it was something that I stayed on top of every week, thought about it every single day. Every day I took a shower, I was like, maybe today's the day. Maybe somebody's going to call me today. Maybe today's, and I just never gave up. And I think that there's something to be said for tenacity and really following your dream and making your dreams happen, because it's never going to come to you. No one's ever going to give it to you. You have to work for it and never give up.
You also have a partnership with Williams-Sonoma. Can you describe what that is?
That's a good story too. How that happened. It's great. I've got 37 items on their website, and you can, when you look for cakes on Williams-Sonoma, almost every single cake I make, and some I don't that are off season, will come up, and you can order it through there. And the order comes straight to our office, in the office that's right next to the bakery in Carmel. We take the orders there, and we make the cake in Carmel, and then we freeze it, and then we ship it within that time frame that they want the cake to be shipped. And we ship all the cakes out of our warehouse. We've got big industrial freezers, and we've got a huge shipping station, and we pack them all by hand, and we ship them out, and they look just like they do when you order it here at the bakery. So it's kind of amazing.
So you told IBJ a couple months ago that with your volume of orders through Williams-Sonoma, you're filling multiple UPS trucks per day.
We just did 2 pallets of cakes that UPS just picked up. It's incredible. Yeah.
Can you give us a sense of how many cakes per day, or whatever the measure is
on shipping? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say there's probably 25, 30 cakes per pallet. So we probably shipped 60 cakes today.
Just today?
Today.
And that's pretty normal?
Yeah. Holidays, it's insane. Holidays are crazy. We do hundreds of cakes a day during the holidays, and pies. So yeah, it's fantastic. And that's what got me through COVID. I mean, when we had to shut down, and I was making cakes and pies in my production kitchen every single day just so I could ship them out.
Now, I'd assume that one of the benefits also of having a shop at Walt Disney World is that it exposes people from all over the country to the cake bake shop, and they could become future customers through online ordering or through Williams-Sonoma.
That is very true. Very excited about that. So I better keep doing a really good job at my job, because I have a lot of people we need to make happy.
Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm. With more than 625 attorneys across 11 offices, we provide solutions to the business issues facing middle market and emerging companies alike. We do this through a highly collaborative and inclusive team approach. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
All right, we're back with this week's edition of the IBJ Podcast and our conversation with Gwendolyn Rogers, founder of the Cake Bake Shop.
So between the 2 locations you currently have, and I guess also the warehouse, how many employees do you have now?
Oh, I have 189 employees now. I know. It's wonderful. I'm so proud that as an independent like, not to drop this one, but, as an independent woman business owner, I started with myself and I had one employee, then I got up to 8 employees, and to be able to offer that many opportunities to that many people is pretty spectacular. We have a great, medical program as well. Everybody gets great benefits. We've got, I try to do as much as I possibly can for everyone that works with me, because this is any job that you can ever do by yourself. Without this incredible team that I have, none of this would ever happen. From all the leaders that we have to, we have so many sectors, from the retail department to the shipping department to the bakery department to the restaurant departments. We've got a lot of different areas, and there's a lot of oversight that has to happen with that many employees and that many different departments. But it really is incredible. I can't tell you when I'm gone, or I have to tell you when I'm not here for whatever reason, if I'm in Florida, or if I'm traveling for business, I miss the people that I work with. I truly love my team.
How many of those employees are involved in baking?
Well, each restaurant bakes their own. Everything is baked separately. So anything that's baked in, that's for Broad Ripple is baked in Broad Ripple. Anything that's for Carmel is baked in Carmel. All the things that we ship is baked in Carmel. We probably have 50 people in the bakery department.
So I grew up in Indianapolis. I've lived here also for a good chunk of my adult life. And if you told me 8 years ago that there would be a successful shop in Broad Ripple that sold cakes at $15 to $17 per slice, or that sold whole cakes of $105 to $300, I would have said you were crazy. Indianapolis is a sheet cake town. Why did you think people would accept such a high-end product?
Well, you're not the first person to tell me that, by the way.
Yeah.
I have had nothing but that response. So when I was putting together my business plan, I knew I had to create something that was going to be different than what everybody else was doing. And I went to every single bakery, not only in the state of Indiana, but surrounding me all over the place. I would get in my car and I would just drive to places and kind of see how did they display their product? Where was their product made? What kind of ingredients were they using? And looking at the price points of what they were offering. And there was not one place that I went to that blew my socks off. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to build something that's going to blow people's socks off. I'm going to do something that to create a place that I wanted to go to. Where would I want to go and sit and have a cup of coffee that I can't just get anywhere? I use Illy coffee. I bring it in from Italy. It's the best coffee I've ever had. That's what I serve. When it comes to tea, I bring in tea from France because the Damiens Frère is amazing. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I'm such a big food fan that I know life is very short and I only want to eat delicious things that are made with amazing ingredients. So I still, to this day, and I never will change, I bring in all my chocolate from France. The other half of my chocolate comes in from Belgium. All of my flour comes from Vermont, still to this day. All of my sugar comes from like the best sugar refinery companies. I go through thousands of eggs every single day. I use very high quality ingredients and everything is made by hand. Every single cake we make has been mixed by hand, panned, like scooped. We weigh every single batter into every single pan. We bake them, we depan them by hand. They're all hand frosted. It's hard to find a place like that. There's not one thing that we use that comes out of a bucket. Not one.
So
not one frosting. And that is what, that is what makes it, to me, it's worth it. Because if you're going to eat something, you might as well eat something that's going to be amazing and really, really good. And that you're going to want to go, you know what, I want to eat that again. And if it's just something you could get anywhere for $6.99, I don't think I'm necessarily going to really want to go eat it again.
So I'm sure some people think, well, you're just soaking them under the guise of offering a top of the line upscale experience. So what kind of profit margin do you have on the cakes? Or is that like a loss leader?
Well, it depends on the cake, but it's not a lot. I mean, I know it sounds like, oh, you got to be just rolling in it. I'm not at all, because every penny we make goes right back into the business, or it goes back to pay employees, because it's not I mean, obviously I've got a lot of overhead, right? I've got to pay rent. I've got to pay, I've got the warehouse I have to pay for. I have, packaging that we have to pay for. I have employees. I have medical, dental. I mean, we've got a lot that goes out the door. So anything else that's left over literally goes right back into the business, and it's to fix things. So, I'm constantly having the refrigerator break. Like we just got a compressor today. The handles on the bathroom doors are broken. There's a table, the glass shatters on the table. So we've got to get glass replaced, and it's always something. So there's constant repair and constant upkeep. Like the marble in our bar in Carmel just fell apart. So that now needs to be fixed. I mean, there's always something. So any money that we make that's extra, we need that to put right back into it. There's the van will break down. I mean, it's always something.
Have your ingredient prices gone up in the last 7 months with everything else, it seems, that we would find in a grocery store?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. Everything's gone up.
What in
and
particular?
we have a hard time getting product as well. I mean, we have crab cakes on our menu, and it's very difficult to get the crab that we use because we use, big lump blue crab, and that's very difficult to get. Unlike maybe decisions that other people would make. So if I refuse to put something on my menu by using a substitute that is of lesser quality in our food. So if for some reason we don't have a certain cake or we don't have a certain savory item on our menu, it's because we couldn't get it. And so instead of subbing it for something less expensive or something that maybe is kind of the same, but not, I can't do that because I've already got a brand standard that I need to hold up to. And if you come in one day and you have my crab cake and you think it's amazing, and then you come back to get that crab cake and it tastes totally different, I've lost you as a guest. You'll never come back. Mm. And so it's extremely important to me to make sure every single time you come in, you have the best experience possible. So all the issues that are happening in the world today have 100% absolutely affected everybody. And I'm not any different. It's affected us as well.
So the Carmel Cake Bake Shop opened, was it July of 2019?
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
Years, okay. Can you share how much you invested in opening that shop?
Financially?
Yeah.
Well, because, when I started with BoardWalk, I had to borrow $100 from my son to open up a checking account because, when they're babies, you save money. Every time I get like a rebate check from the insurance company, when I took him to the dentist for like $32, I would put it in his account. So I borrowed $100 from Baxter when I first opened my first account for BoardWalk, and I got a loan for like $237,000. And then, of course, nobody would give me a loan. That was a whole nother story. Like I was the lady from Pretty Woman. Nobody would give me. And then I go back and I'm like, thank God it worked out. I'm really glad. Thank goodness. But anyway, so with Carmel, I had to take another loan out as well. So it's a lot. I don't know if you really want the number, but I'm still paying that loan off. I think I've got another 8 years, 10 years before I have that paid off. And so, yeah, you're making me have a hot flash when I start thinking about it. It's a lot. I owe a lot of money. But with that said, I am still independently owned. I don't have any investors. I don't have anybody I have to answer to. I can make my own decisions and I can run my business as I choose. And there's something very freeing about that. And I would so much rather owe the bank a ton of money than have to answer to someone who doesn't know me, doesn't know anything about my business, doesn't, it's so that's like, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. I have a VP of operations. Her name's Angie Daniel, and she helps me run the business. She's the opposite of me, which is fantastic. She's smart. She does numbers. She does all that. So together between her and I, and obviously the rest of the team, we just try to keep it all together, and just stay open and keep doing a good job at our job, and keep everybody, all the team happy. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot to do, but God, it's quite the amazing job. So yeah, it's fun to owe that kind of money, but sorry, not to like go all over the place. I go down a rabbit hole sometimes.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, it's all good. I'm just grateful that I had a bank that was willing to loan me the money. I mean, that was the second time around, I actually got to pick my bank, which was kind of outstanding. And I think I left that bank meeting when I got the loan for Carmel. I'm not a big crier, but I definitely got teary-eyed as I was walking out of that bank door and going to my car thinking that was incredible. I didn't have to beg and sell myself where I, to convince someone that I was capable of opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
So that was kind of great.
So for your broader so you had was it a small business administration back loan from First Merchants?
On my first one, it had to be SBA because no bank was confident enough to give me a loan without having the government involved. So yes, it was an SBA loan. And I'll be totally honest, my second one was an SBA loan as well. It got divided up into two different parts because I had to borrow a lot of money for Carmel. So part of it was an SBA loan and the other was a bank loan.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So I'll just ask you one more time, just ballpark, how much did you have to put into Carmel to open it?
Oh God, 800,000. So let's say maybe $1 million, $1.2 million, a lot. I think I'm at 800 now. I think I've paid it down to 800. I think it was like $1.2 million. But let's just say my house is leveraged, my Suburban's leveraged, my kids, my life insurance is leveraged. I am so leveraged that, like, when you say how much money are you making, it makes me laugh because I'm not, because everything that we make goes to the bank and everything else. So I won't have this loan paid off until I think I've got 8 to 10 years left.
Yeah.
So
the two of those loans.
Actually, no, I actually ended up paying off my first loan on year 5 of BoardWalk.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't owe that one anymore. So that was why I got the second loan for Carmel, because I was debt free. I didn't owe anybody any money, but I do now. And then with Disney, of course, I will never live long enough to see that all paid off.
Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. So you also have, are you in the process of getting one for Disney?
I am, yes. So my goal is to continue to stay independent.
Great.
That is very, very difficult. I think I have heartburn almost every single day, and my hair is turning gray really fast. My husband works like crazy, so thank God. Like, he's our bread and butter, which is great.
Mm. And he's still in the I was going to say show business. I guess that's literally true, but he's a first assistant director on different projects.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that sounds like a great job.
Yeah, he loves it. He during COVID, he was home for a year, and he, as much as he loved being home, he loves to work. I think that's when my husband and I are a great team as well, because we both have the same work ethic, and I love to work too. So he gets bored very easily, and so do I. So I think that as much as being home is great, I'm always like, okay, I gotta go back to work. So love you guys, gotta go. And he's the same.
Well, let's check back. I don't know when the appropriate time will be, but let's check back when we have more to say about Disney. That sounds like it's going to be a great project.
Yeah. Yes, I'm very excited about it.
My thanks again to Gwendolyn Rogers. And I have a quick addendum for the numbers you heard just a few minutes ago. As we noted at the beginning of the podcast, Gwendolyn actually received a $325,000 SBA loan for the BoardWalk location, not $237,000. The loan for the Carmel location was $1.2 million, on the high end of what she estimated, and she already has paid the principal down to $600,000. Now, folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, there are a few stories from the latest issue of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, 8 years after the Ballard administration prepared to completely rebuild the streets of Monument Circle, work that never commenced, Mayor Joe Hogsett's team is dusting off the plans and strategizing how to turn the project into reality. IBJ's Mickey Shuey discusses the potential roadblocks. Also in this week's issue, Daniel Bradley shines a light on the new Motor District Garage condos, which you could describe as high-end man caves where car collectors can store and commune with their vehicles. And Susan Orr reports that banks in Indiana have begun bulking up their loan reserves as a precaution against a potential recession. And again, you can find these stories in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at ibj.com. I will say, it's easier to access all of the latest local news about business and politics and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business, community, and economy if you're a subscriber. And here's a new development. We have wrapped all of IBJ's content together with all of the stories, columns, and podcasts from our sister publication, Inside Indiana Business. It now works out to about $3 per week for actionable information about every notable business development across the state. You won't find Indiana's story told with this kind of breadth and depth anywhere else. Just go to ibj.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.